Okay, hello again. Here is video 3 of 3. I promise this will be my last one for this evening. Video number 1 was all about my journey with depression and suicide up till now. Video number 2 was about my hospital stay and how it got me through to not being suicidal anymore. And now we're on to video number 3 of recovery. This is a whole new world to me. Like I said, I've been suffering from depression since I was 9 years old. I don't want to speak badly of my parents in this sense when I say that they had no idea what they were doing when it comes to depression, because they didn't. There's mental health issues on both sides of my family. Some of it is not admitted. I know this, I see this. Others of it I was told later. You know, I got a message from one relative saying, well, didn't you know I suffered from this? And didn't you know this person did and this person did? And no, I had no idea. No idea, none at all. Because sadly, my family just didn't talk about any of this stuff. Like I said, I was just considered a moody teen. That's what I was called, because I was, I spent a lot of time alone in my room. I was reclusive. I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to do anything. I was considered a moody teen. Either because my parents didn't know about depression and didn't know that's what I was going through. I mean, they had no idea how badly I was bullied for 5 years, what I went through. I can't even get into it all on here because that, again, is a whole other subject and one that I'm not really prepared to discuss at this time. That was the worst time of my entire life. And I was forever changed because of it. And so that's where the depression started. And they didn't know that I was being bullied to this extent because I didn't talk about it, because that's not what we did, right? You keep it to yourself. Everything's fine. No one needs to know. So I was a moody teen. And again, I don't know if it's because they didn't really understand or know what depression was or even think that a kid could have it. Or if, no, I don't believe that they knew that I had it. But at the same time, I also don't think much would have been done about it anyways, because as I got older and stuff and I knew what it was more and more, stuff still wasn't really done. And again, this video is not meant to put down any member of my family. I'm just telling you my experience and the way I was raised, as a lot of people have been raised. This is what I'm finding out in recovery. So I didn't know a lot about depression, right? I knew what it was. I knew what being depressed was, but I didn't know the medical condition. I didn't know how it affected you, how badly it could affect you. Even up until this past November, when I was so depressed that I had a plan to kill myself. I had a date. I had everything figured out. I had freaking to-do lists of what I needed to do before this happened. Like detailed to-do lists, several of them, if you want to know how bad it was, I had lists of who I was going to be writing notes to. I had another list of what was going to be in these certain notes. I had lists of stuff I needed to take care of so that other people, mostly Henry, wouldn't have to deal with afterwards. I wanted everything tied up in a nice, neat bow so that it wouldn't bother anybody with it afterwards. And incidentally, I was working on my apartment the other day because I find cleaning and organizing lately really helps distract my mind and make me feel better when my place is organized. And I came across that notebook. And so I read through the list and chills went down my spine. Not only because of how close it came, but how it was very clear how badly I wanted that to happen. Like the detail of that I had planned of stuff that had to be done. It was frightening now. So I ripped the pages out and I put them through my shredder right away and didn't look back, moved past it. But that's how bad it was. And so, like I said, up until November, up until the hospital stay, I knew what depression was, but didn't really understand it. So the hospital, the different sessions we went through, we worked on and stuff, learning about mindfulness, awareness. This stuff is, I swear this stuff should be taught in school. All of this should be taught. CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, mindfulness, awareness, meditation. All of this should be taught in school to everybody. It's ridiculous. Oh, I just see Henry came online. I apologize, Henry, for anything I've said that you didn't want me to say, but I don't think there's anything you wouldn't have want me to say. You know how important it is that I talk about this stuff. And yes, I always think about others. That was a big problem too, right? That's how I was raised. That's how a lot of people are raised. That's what good people, in my opinion, do and stuff. They think about other people before themselves. The problem is we usually put everything into everyone else and never anything for us. So I'm trying not to read these comments, sorry, because I want to keep the train of thought going, but I see someone said mindfulness is being taught now in schools. Good. I am thrilled to hear that. Because this is so important, all of this stuff. So in the hospital, they had different group sessions and stuff, and they were about all these different things, and that's where I started to learn more about it. And my counselor has been, I had one person, I had a really bad experience in the hospital with one now former friend, the way things went down. But basically they put down my counselor and said, didn't think that he's been doing me any good, and look at where I'm at now and whatnot. But when it comes down to it, my counselor for the last 10 years has been working on me with this stuff, with CBT, with mindfulness. But when you can only see him like once a month or once every 6 weeks because of how busy they are and because of how your life goes and everything that's happening, you go in for the appointment. He works with me. I always feel better when I leave my appointment. Always. He always gives me something to work on or something to do to help with the issue that I'm having at the time, being overwhelmed, whatever's going on. And I come home and I work on it for a day or two, super pumped. I'm feeling good about it because this is cognitive behavior therapy stuff. And then it's gone after a couple days after that, right? Because you lose your momentum and everything. If I'm able to see him 3 or 4 times a week, like a class or something, or once every week, things would be much better faster. Because when I was discharged from the hospital on the 18th, I had already had an appointment on December 21st booked with Chris. I had that booked quite a while in advance, and he said yes, he would keep that. So when I showed up, the very first thing I did was apologize to him for ever questioning why he cared if I lived or died, because that was a horrible thing for me to question him about. And again, I can't get that look on his face out of my mind. I being in the hospital, I thought, if I had found out he had passed away somehow, whatever, I would be pretty upset. So I get it now why he was upset that I asked that. But so the first thing I did was apologize to him. The second thing was to say that you're a big believer in CBT, aren't you? And he smiled. He's like, yes, this is what we work on. And that's when we talked a lot more about it. And so one of the things that he has always worked on me with is doing more for myself, which I always thought was selfish, or I'd feel guilty if I did. And I remember one time he told me years ago, he said, I want you to do something for yourself for 1 hour. He said, watch a video, watch a movie, have a bath, go for a walk, do whatever, just something for you, just all by yourself for an hour, whatever you enjoy. And I said, okay, an hour a week, I can do that. And he laughed and he said, no, Stacy, an hour every day. And I said, I can't do an hour every day. That's crazy. Like that's too much time on me. I can't. I'll feel guilty. I should be doing something else. So that was years ago. So he's been telling me this all along. It wasn't until I had hours at the hospital and stuff, talking with nurses and doctors and these group sessions and stuff, learning about how truly important this really is. And why it's not selfish. Self-care is not selfish at all. So again, didn't really know about depression, didn't really understand it. Anxiety, again, I had a family member come to me when I first mentioned on here that I had a panic attack or something, and they said, how come you never said anything? I've been having panic attacks since 1982. And I said, well, how, I had no idea. I said, nobody talks about this, closely guarded secret. So I had never dealt with a panic attack with a family member ever because no one ever talked about it. I didn't know that they were suffering from it too. So I just dealt with it by myself, the only way I knew how and stuff. And I've been learning over the years how to control them and what to do. And sometimes it requires medication and other times it doesn't. So I knew what anxiety was and I knew what depression was, but I didn't truly understand the impact of both of these diagnoses that I got. So recovery. When I started on January 8th, the class I was supposed to take at the Y was supposed to start on December 31st, New Year's Eve. I went there on December 31st, and she said, "Oh, I wasn't able to get through to you. Your number wasn't working." She had misdialed, turns out. She said everybody else had canceled because it was so cold, so we're not going to do the class today. And I said, "Okay, so I'll come back on Wednesday," which was the 2nd. And that morning she called and she said, "There's a power outage in our building." You guys might have seen it on the news downtown. She said, "There's a power outage in our building. We're not even allowed to go into work." She said, "So we're canceling the class." She said, "We'll start on Monday, the 7th, and we'll still get everything in the 8 sessions instead of 10. So Monday was my birthday. And you guys might have seen my post about how I don't deal well with birthdays the last few years, and how I changed my mindset this year, and about how I felt about it, and did really good with my birthday. I had a fantastic birthday, great birthday. Went to the dog park with Henry Nodi. His landlord made great chicken wings, and they had cherry cheesecake for me. It was a fantastic day. But I also went to the class that day, and the coping with depression class, and it was amazing. Those 2 hours were amazing, talking about what we were going to be talking about and learning about, and just starting on it and getting the worksheets and the workbooks and everything, and just for 2 hours really discussing what depression is, how it affects you, and what we can be doing about it going forward. So I felt really good when I left that appointment. And then Tuesday, when I decided my vacation was over, time to start real life and stuff. So I started to slowly get back at my work. The doctor in the hospital, when he discharged me, said his biggest concern was with me doing too much too fast when I got out, because I said I'm excited about this program at the Y and I'm excited about the gym membership and stuff. And he said, "That's all great." He said, "But I really need you to not do too much too fast." And in the CBT, the cognitive behavior therapy workbooks the doctor in the hospital had given me to start on, the part that hit me the hardest was the first section that I had read. And it said, you have to recognize that you were not the same as you were before your depressive episode hit. So, I mean, you can suffer from depression and stuff, but then there's depressive episodes like I had in November, where I got so depressed that I had planned to end my life. And so they said, you cannot think of yourself the way you did before. They said something you might do, you might have plans to do 5 different things today. And after doing 2 of them, you're exhausted. And they might be little things, and you'll get really upset with yourself because it's ridiculous to get tired after 2 little things, whereas before you probably could have done 20 things. You have got to learn your limits now, and you have got to be patient with yourself. So they said, if you find that doing 5 things is too overwhelming, you might have to bring it down to 4. If that's too overwhelming, bring it down to 3. They said, if you simply get out of bed that day and that's it for you, but that's something you wouldn't have done the day before, great, at least you did something. And then maybe the next day you'll be able to do an extra little thing. This has been the hardest part of this whole recovery process for me so far, is learning limits. Because I feel better. I feel great. I want to just go. Cannot. It's just not possible anymore. And to not beat myself up about it. I used to, a couple of years ago, I was spending 10, 12, 14 hours a day working on my Scentsy business because I loved it and because there was just that much could be done and stuff. And I still love my business that much. I still love the business that much. But I can't put that kind of time in. That's the frustrating part. That's what's really bothering me. Like, it was to the point where if I could do 15 minutes a day, that I'd be lucky. And that is crazy. 15 minutes a day, and I would be exhausted mentally from doing this. And even though it's something I genuinely love and I don't consider work, it was still exhausting and hard to do. So this has been the hardest part, is learning these limitations and learning all of this. And so January 8th, I wanted to start again. So my place was a disaster because I had dropped off all my bags after Christmas from Henry's place, and then I hadn't put them away, and there was laundry and there was papers everywhere, and all of my Scentsy paperwork that Henry had been taking care of. Like, if I looked around this place, I could go into a panic attack in 2 seconds because of how overwhelmed I was with everything. And I had to learn how to just stop, breathe, and just focus on one little thing at a time, and to not worry if I couldn't do any more. And again, this is where my counselor had been trying to teach me this all along too, because years and years and years ago, he taught me about this thing called the 5-minute rule. And I might have talked about this before because this has always stuck with me. He has always told me, he said, if you feel overwhelmed and you can't do a lot of stuff, just do something for 5 minutes. He said, do it for 5 minutes. He said, most people can do something for 5 minutes, like whether it's organizing papers, folding clothes, doing some dishes. He said, set a timer if you need to. 5 minutes. And after that 5 minutes is up, if you are still exhausted and feel like you cannot go on anymore, then don't. Just stop and don't feel guilty about it. You tried, and maybe in a little while you can try again for 5 minutes. He said, but if you're able to keep going after 5 minutes, then keep going. That's great. So he's been teaching me this all along, and I've tried to do this off and on and stuff. But again, until I really, really learned about depression and anxiety and recovery, I didn't get the importance of this 5-minute rule. So Monday, January 7th, I went to my class. Tuesday, I had the day off. I did a lot around the apartment. I was feeling good. So, I mean, the 5-minute rule didn't even apply that day. It was not a problem. I got up, I opened my curtains, I made my bed. I got that beautiful comforter and throw pillows and stuff for Christmas from Henry's landlord. So I was excited to make my bed and have it look nice. So that day I did a lot of stuff. Wednesday, the 9th, I went to my class again, the Coping with Depression. And in there we had to break off and talk about one of our exercises with a partner. And this guy in my class mentioned about the Mood Disorders Association of Manitoba, how they have a depression support group every Wednesday. And that was Wednesday. And I said, so that's tonight? And he said, yeah, from 7 till 9. And I thought, this is something maybe I should check out and see. Well, it was freezing that day. And by the time I got home after the class, I was exhausted. I didn't feel like going out again. And I thought, no, Cece, you know what? Just go. It's one class and it's right down the street from me. That's the other thing too. Like in the spring, and once my back gets a bit better and stuff and I can walk, I'll be able to walk to all of these places. They're that close. But for now I had to take the bus. So, but it was still close enough. So I went to this depression support group and it was fantastic. There was only, I think, 5 of us there that day. And even the facilitator said, okay, this is a very small class, not normally this small, but we got to just talk and talk and talk for the 2 hours. And it's not like, I've never been to an AA meeting, but from other support groups and stuff I've seen where you don't really do a lot of crosstalk and things like that. Everybody just talks and then you move on to the next person. This was a little more informal than that. You do a check-in when you first get there. Each person gets a chance, no matter how long you want to talk, to check in and say how you've been doing over the last week and what's been going on. And then we talk for the rest of the class. And then right at the end, we have a checkout to see, what you're going to keep doing until next week and how you're going to keep yourself safe and what you're going to do and whatnot. I loved this. I loved this whole concept of all of this. The people were so nice. They were friendly. They just talking about a lot of it, helped. Just getting it out, me verbalizing a lot of things, and other people talking about what was going on with them. Again, it's not that I ever felt like I was alone in this fight and stuff, but when you hear it from somebody else and you're sitting there and you're shaking your head through everything they're saying because you can relate, there's something really powerful about that. So I said, I'm definitely going to come back the next week. During that session as well, they mentioned the next day at the Mood Disorder Association that they were going to have a goal-setting workshop in the morning. And I thought, okay, well, the old me and the new me love setting goals, right? This is who I am. I make goals all the time. I plan goals big time. It's just over the last few months, my motivation and drive and desire has just gone down to nothing. So I thought, maybe I need to go to this workshop because it's only an hour and a half. And again, it's just down the street from me. Maybe I need to go to this workshop and really see if I can get kind of that spark back a little bit for my goal setting. So I got up in the morning, cold, bundled up, took the bus down there, went and sat in the room. There was nobody there. Like literally nobody. I was sitting by myself. After about 5 minutes, I got up to see, am I in the right room? And the facilitator came out and said, oh, I was just calling the other people because nobody had showed up, so I was going to cancel it. And I said, oh, I didn't even know I had to register. I said, I only found out about it last night. She said, hey, you're here? She said, we could just do it one-on-one. But let me just see if there's a couple other people still around. So there ended up being 3 of us and the facilitator. And I've done other goal setting workshops before where you work on like the SMART process, the specific, measurable, attainable, all of that. We didn't focus on that this time. This was just talk about your main goal. What is one big goal that you have, and then steps on what you can do to help attain it, and then follow up, how we were going to follow up with it, basically. So the four of us sat there and we just talked and talked and talked, and we wrote down our goals and we wrote down some plans, and then we were allowed to ask for feedback if we wanted it. So of course I did, and then people would say, well, maybe you could try this, or have you thought about that, and different things. And it was really great talking. And then at the end with the follow-up, the facilitator said, so if you guys want, like, we got to set a follow-up plan. Like, are you going to, for this goal, is this something you can reach within the next month? Is this something that you're working on throughout the year? My personal goal, it is a personal one, so I don't really want to share it just yet, but it's something I'm working on for like towards the summer and stuff, and summer or fall. And so I said I would like to follow up once a month to see if I'm on track and stuff. And she said, okay, if you want, she said, give me your email address and I can follow up with you every month, at the end of the month or whenever you want. She said, I can call you, I can email you. So this stranger, this wonderful stranger, this facilitator has offered to follow up with me on my goals, to make sure I'm on track, to make sure I haven't fallen off the rails or I haven't forgotten about my goal and stuff. And with no pressure. It's just, I'm going to get an email at the end of the month just saying, hey, how's it going? Are you still on track? You need any help with anything? It was fantastic. So that was Thursday morning, last Thursday. And I left from there and I was going to meet a new person at Starbucks, a new friend. I had not met her yet. We belong to the same Facebook group, so we were chatting a little bit through there, and we had agreed to go meet for coffee. And so I took the bus to Starbucks there and met this person who turns out to be quite the sweetheart, a really, really nice person. We hit it off right away. I can see us being really good friends. And so we had a really nice visit, and the Starbucks... Okay, if you're from Winnipeg and you're familiar, this was the Starbucks on Osborne in the Village, right by the Shoppers Drug Mart and Safeway. Well, I live right downtown, like right over the bridge, right over the Osborne Bridge there. So I looked up the bus schedule to come home, and it, well, it was a stupid bus schedule. It basically dropped me off on the other side of the bridge and then told me to walk the rest of the way. Or I had to take this really ridiculous route to get 2 other buses to get home. So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, you know what? I can probably walk faster. Now, I know with my back issues that it was going to be a problem, but I thought if I go slow, why waste bus fare to get dropped off at the other side of the bridge to have to walk anyways? So I timed it. It took me 22 minutes to walk home, which isn't bad. It normally would have taken probably about 10, but I had to stop so often because of this spinal stenosis issue, but I did make it home. And then I was able to relax. Well, by that evening, I was exhausted. I mean, could barely keep my eyes open. Couldn't figure out why I was so exhausted, because I thought it's a 20-minute walk. That's nothing. That shouldn't make me so tired. And then I stopped and I thought about it and thought about what I did throughout the week. And it didn't seem like a lot. I went to a class on Monday, had a great birthday. Tuesday did a bit of cleaning around here. Wednesday went to another class. Thursday went to a workshop. Oh yeah, Wednesday evening went to the support group. But really nothing too out of like that. You wouldn't think would overwhelm you too much and stuff. But by Thursday evening, oh my God, I was exhausted. And I was even worse on Friday. I woke up that Friday and thankfully I had no appointments. I had no classes. I had nothing going on because I could do nothing. I made my bed because I really like the way my comforter looks and stuff. So it's kind of my motivator each morning. I made my bed and I emptied the dishwasher. That was it. That's all I could do on Friday. And this is what I'm learning is okay. Not to beat myself up about this, because it may not have seemed like I did a lot, but I did a hell of a lot for me. For what I'm going through, I did a lot, and mentally, which is so draining as well. So I did not feel one bit guilty on Friday when I watched Netflix and I caught up on some TV shows and I did my color by number app that relaxes me and I listened to music and I did nothing. And I didn't feel one bit guilty at all because I had felt so accomplished throughout the week. But I'm learning my limitations. That's such a big thing. So then, on the weekend, What did I do on the weekend? Oh yeah, my friend wanted to take me out for supper for my birthday, belated birthday. So I went to the Forks and met a couple friends, and they took me for supper, and that was really nice. And then we took Henry picked us up after there, and we went to the dog park because Odie can only last like 20 minutes max in this weather. So we went there, and then we took my friend home, and then I hung out at their place and watched a couple shows, and then came home. So it was a relaxing Saturday as well. And then Sunday, I felt really motivated, and I did a lot more organizing and cleaning around my apartment. It's kind of my goal this year is to get, like, it's a bachelor apartment, not very big, but it's my goal is to get it like organized like you wouldn't believe, because that helps me mentally, right? So I did a lot, but didn't get overwhelmed. And then Monday came around. So I've been doing good, like a week. And I told them at the depression support group, I said, I have been having 4 phenomenally good days, and I'm not used to feeling this way. I'm not used to being happy like this and feeling so good. I said, I'm terrified that, like, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm something bad is coming or something's going to happen. I said, I'm not anticipating it. I'm not expecting it. I said, but it's just what I'm used to, right? I'm not used to feeling this good, so something's got to happen. That's the way I felt. So we still talked about, what I was going to do. I was going to keep going to classes and whatnot. So Monday I woke up, I went to my class, and I had to get on the bus. I got on a different bus this time. And the bus driver, well, again, another whole long story that I'm not getting into, but the bus driver was somebody I didn't really want to see, didn't really want to run into, that I haven't seen in years and would have been happy to have never seen again. Again, very long story, but this person is not good in my life. And so I wasn't expecting to see them. And then, of course, they were asking about Henry and stuff, and it just, it wasn't the best experience for me. But I went to class, and during class, we had our break, and there was 3 other students, and they were talking about something, and somebody else's name came up, and it was somebody else from our past that we had a bad experience with. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, are you freaking kidding me? Like really, I haven't heard this person's name in forever. I haven't seen this other person in years. And now all of this is happening within like 3 hours. Like, are you kidding me? Thought that I had just, whatever, let it roll off and stuff. But no, the part of me that still just can't let things go too easily, just held on to it. And I mean, I got anxious, and I was kind of shaking for the rest of the class and stuff, just at even hearing this person's name. Whereas it should just let it go, because I don't lose any sleep over this person. I don't dwell on things, but this day it just kind of hit me. And by that evening, I was just, no, Monday evening was a good evening. Monday evening, I had a lot of fun. Went out and hung out with a friend and had a very, very nice evening. And, but so that kind of took my mind off of things. But by Tuesday then, I still was just not feeling so great. And so I got some stuff done around the apartment, but not much. By Wednesday, I was dreading again seeing this person on the bus again, changed my schedule completely, my route, even though I know I shouldn't do that. I still have to live my life and stuff. But that day I thought, no, I can't deal with this again, knowing that they'll probably see them again. So I changed my route, and I got to class, and I was just feeling awful, feeling anxious, feeling miserable. I was holding back tears the whole class and stuff. Couldn't participate like I normally would. I didn't speak up much and stuff. I couldn't even do the worksheets that they had given us, whatnot. I was listening to everything, and I got all the paperwork and stuff, but I couldn't really do too much with it. And when I left the class that day, the teacher actually stopped me and said, is everything okay? She said, because you don't have the same energy you've had the last few days, the last few classes. And I said, to be honest with you, no. I said, I've kind of had a bit of an episode this week, and I'm not doing too good. Oh, my battery's low. Okay, let's see if I can plug it in from here. And I said, sorry, I'm going to move it closer. Okay. And I said, but I'm going to go to the depression support group tonight and see if that helps. And she said, just know that we're always here too. You can talk to us at any time. She said, so just, we're concerned too. And I said, okay, I appreciate that. I said, we'll see how things go tonight. So I got home. It was cold out. I did not want to go back out again that night, but I thought, Stacey, you have to try. You have to try this because you enjoyed it last week so much. You got so much out of it. So I forced myself and I got out and took the bus down the street and I went to it, and I am so glad that I did. There was more people there this time. There was a big crowd, a big crowd. There was like 8 or 9 people. But we all got a chance to talk. We did our check-in. I mentioned how I was not doing good and why and stuff. And the teacher, the facilitator even said, yeah, you said you were doing really good last week, but you were waiting for that other shoe to drop. And I said, but I honestly wasn't sitting around expecting it to happen. Like I wasn't trying to bring it on. I said it was a trigger, 2 triggers that happened on Monday, and it's just kind of festered since. So we talked about that, and everybody else got to talk, and one person did a lot of talking, and that actually helped us and everything. So I felt a lot better by the time I left there. And then that brought us to today. Today's Thursday, and I had my follow-up appointment with my family doctor this morning. So I bundled up and took the bus there, and I was looking forward to seeing him too, because this was the first time since the day I got admitted that I saw him. And the first thing I said to him was my apologies as well, like I did with my counselor, forever questioning why he cared about if I lived or died, because out of everybody I asked that question to, the doctors and nurses and stuff, they don't know me, so whatever, that's just the way I felt. But with my family doctor and with Chris, my counselor, it was really, really bothering me afterwards that I had even questioned them about this stuff. So I really had to apologize. And he smiled and he said, yeah, Chris told me that you had said this to him. And I said, well, I have to say it to you too now. And so I felt better. And I said, okay. I said, I hate to be one of those patients that brings in a list. I said, but I didn't want to forget some of this stuff. And he laughed. But he's so amazing because he will make time for you no matter what. Doesn't matter how much you need to talk about. So I told him about the program at the Y. I told him about the membership and stuff. We talked about a whole bunch of different things. We talked about future programs that I want to take and different things I need to be referred to for CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. We just talked about a lot. He asked me a ton of questions, and it was a really, really good session. And he renewed my medication because the hospital had only given me for a month, so he renewed my prescriptions. And we talked about medication too, because I said to him, I said, you know how much I hate taking pills. I hate taking medicine. I can't stand it. I said, but I know that it's necessary and I will take this prescription because I need it. I said, but that's why I'm so excited about this cognitive behavior therapy, because of what I think it's going to do, how I think it's actually going to help me. And maybe I'll never get off the medication. I don't know. This is not something I'm focusing on right now. But I'm just happy to know there's another alternative. There's something that we can work on to see how we can work on this. Because as I'm learning too, this is not a quick fix. And not did I ever think I was going to come home and suddenly feel better and things would be great. But I had no idea exactly how long a process this was going to be. I had no idea how much work was going to be involved. I had no idea how slow it would be. And I'm not a patient person. And when I say slow, I mean slow. But that's the most important part, is to take it slow. And this is what I'm learning, is that I have to take it slow. I can't rush this process. I can't rush any of this. And I have to work this whole process. I have to work at retraining my brain. One of our classes, that in one of our coping with depression classes, we watched a video from Dr. Rick Hanson, and that's spelled Hanson, not like the other Rick Hanson. And this guy, I believe, and don't quote me, but I think he is a neurobiologist, or he's something to do with neurons and everything. And he said one statement that really stuck with me. He said, neurons that fire together, wire together. So this is what I've taken away from this class. The biggest thing I've taken away from this class so far is taking in the good. That's what this Dr. Rick Hanson was talking about, is called taking in the good. So, you know, when something, a joke is told and you laugh or whatever, and you feel good and stuff, or you come home from work and your kid runs into your arms and says, I love you and stuff, that's a good feeling. You have to learn how to take in that feeling and make that feeling last for a minimum of 10 seconds, preferably up to 30 seconds. Soak it in, okay, give you my example here. One of my examples. This is one of my favorite mugs of all time. Where do you think I got it? Statue of Liberty 2 years ago. This is my favorite mug. I use this mug every single morning, and I have my cup of tea every single morning. And So I love that. I look forward to my cup of tea in the morning. And so one thing I'm supposed to do is, why do I love this cup of tea? Like, actually think about it. I love using the mug. It makes me happy. It flashes me back to the best vacation ever, and to those memories. Taking the sip of the tea, it tastes delicious. It feels warm going down my throat. Like, feel your senses. Like, think about your senses. I can feel it in my chest, the warmth and everything. Really focus on that for a minimum of 10 seconds, 10 to 30 seconds. And try to do this as often as possible with as much as you can, because it makes your neurons fire more and makes them, like, when the longer you focus on this, the longer the neurons fire. So he said neurons that fire together, wire together. So eventually you keep doing this and your brain just starts reprogramming and retraining and building more towards, the good and the happiness. Observe, describe, participate. Yes, exactly, Jewel. That's exactly. So I've been trying, I said in class the next time, I said, taking in the good is not hard. Remembering to do it is the hard part. Because, you don't think to do this stuff. You don't think to focus on the good. We dwell on the bad so easily and stuff. I do anyways. I'm really bad for that. Can't let things go, and I just dwell forever until I catch myself really focusing on it and force myself to think about something else. But now I have to do that with the good too. So that same day when I went out for whatever I went out for, I walked back in through my apartment door, and every time I walk into my apartment, I love my apartment. I walk in and I'm happy in here. So instantly I thought, okay, take in the good. Why do you love it in here? And I looked around and I looked at all these pictures I have on the wall. This is in my living room / bedroom. I put them up there for a reason. These are pictures of all my Scentsy trips and everything, and they're my favorite pics from these trips, and they make me happy. So I see them. Why do I love my apartment? Because it's mine. I love the green colored walls. I love that it's so small and cozy. It's just me. I love that I'm getting it organized. Take in the good and focus on the good. And again, even if you only have 10 seconds, so when you come home and if your kid runs into your arms and says, I love you, really hang on to that for as long as you can, and do that with everything as much as you can. So that's one big thing I've taken away from this, is taking in the good. And then in the last class, and again, because I wasn't feeling too good and stuff, I didn't really absorb it, and I paid attention, but I didn't really get it. But I'm reading now about it and stuff. It's about self-compassion. And we watched a video. Oh, I don't have the person's name in front of me. Anyways, we watched a 20-minute video about the difference between self-esteem and self-compassion. And self-esteem, well, it can be a good thing. It usually, it's too hard for me to explain everything that was said in that video and stuff, but self-esteem, self-compassion is a lot better, because self-esteem, you're just building yourself up, and usually it's because you're comparing to other things. And okay, I'm not saying any of this right. I'll have to get the right wording for it and everything. But basically, self-compassion is the one that we really, really need to work on. Things like if I'm having a bad day and something's going wrong and I get mad at myself and I'm, putting myself down and stuff, I have to think, okay, would I do that to Henry if he did the exact same thing? And, would I say to him, like, okay, that was stupid, why'd you do that? And stuff. I would never do that to him or to any of my friends and stuff. Why would I do it to myself then? But it's what we do. It's the way our brains work. It's the way we're wired and stuff. So we have to focus more on self-compassion, not beating yourself up, focusing more on you. Again, I haven't got too much into this whole subject yet because of how I was feeling Wednesday, but I'm going to be rereading through everything before Monday's class and really getting into it. But this is what I'm taking away from this whole ugly ordeal experience that started in November, is I have depression. I have anxiety. I may never be cured of these things. I may always have these things, but I am learning how to deal with them. I'm learning how to deal with me. I'm learning how to deal with life. I am learning to focus on me. I am learning how to say no. I'm learning. This is the big thing. This is harder than anything I ever thought. This is going to take a lot longer than I ever thought, but I think it's going to be so worth it, so much more than I ever thought too. I really see good things coming from this if I keep sticking with this. People, I have to ask people to be patient with me. If you're watching this video and stuff, if you make it to the end here, I have to ask people to be patient because I'm not the same person that I was before. I'm trying to be stronger. I'm trying to be better, but that's going to take time. And I can't do what I could do before. Even though I want to so desperately, and there's so much I want to be doing, I can't. And I was talking to my one friend tonight, and I told her how I had to say no to something. I just couldn't. I know I couldn't do it. And afterwards, she said to me, she said, Stacey, do you realize? She said that this is huge. She said, because the old you before, you would have said yes, and then you would have ran yourself crazy trying to figure out how to get it done and stressed yourself out and made yourself so sick over it. She said, you actually took care of you tonight. She said, you actually thought of you first, and knowing you can't do this and you had to say no. She said, that's huge. And I would have not even thought of that. I wouldn't have even realized that I had done that. So I'm so thankful she pointed that out to me, because that is huge for me, learning how to say no. And a lot of it is going to be also not now, but maybe later, you know. So I have to ask people to be patient. If anybody ever wants to talk about any of this anymore, any further, wants to know about any of the stuff I learned in the class and whatnot, we can go for coffee anytime. We can video chat anytime if we don't live in the same city. I want to be an open book about everything. I really do, because this is beyond important. If you've never suffered from depression or anxiety, count your blessings. Consider yourself so lucky. But that also means that you truly don't understand it to the degree that people who are suffering from it do. That's not to say that you're not trying to understand, or you're not being compassionate, you're not being a good friend. Not at all. Not at all. It's just some things you're not going to understand, and we have to be a little bit firmer now. Like when I have to say no, I have to say no, and I hope that I understand and stuff. And I know that a lot of people have said, I'm here for you. You know, you can talk anytime. You know that. You know, do you know how many people love you and everything? I do, guys. I really do. I always have known this. I am very blessed. Honestly, people who are suffering from depression and anxiety and stuff, who don't have the kind of support in their lives that I do, I don't know how they get through. I don't know how they make it. And I know a lot of them don't. And that's the really sad part. So if anybody ever wants to talk anytime, I am here, but I also get that it's not easy to do that, or it's exhausting, or you don't want to start from the beginning. We don't even have to talk about the depression part and stuff. If you just want to talk, you want to say hi, let me know. I was going to say something else. It's gone. Anyways, that's my journey through all of this. And I have to keep in mind that this only happened in November, like less than 2 months ago. I went from such an extreme low to now. It's bugging me. I was going to say something. Okay, yeah, right. If you are in this crisis mode and you don't really know what to do and stuff, or you're struggling to get to recovery and whatnot, having a plan. Now, not everybody is a planner like I am, and oh, thank you, honey. I get that not everybody is as much of a planner, but what's helped me the most is because I told the doctors my concern is that I'm feeling good until I'm not, until I crash hard. And if you want perfect 100% honesty here, I cannot ever get to that low again, because I won't come back from it. I can tell you 100% for sure, because I won't go to my counselor knowing what he can do. I won't go to the hospital. I will just go ahead with the plan. And the difference is, I don't want to get to that point. I don't want that to happen ever again. So I have to do whatever it takes to not get to that point. And my problem is realizing when I'm getting to that point. So my incredible friend, Krista, we talked a lot while I was in the hospital, and she came to visit me and stuff. She said, how about we make a check-in plan? Whatever you want, daily, weekly, monthly, she said, and she knows me so well. She said, I'll check in with you so that you don't feel like you're bothering me. She said, even though you'd never be bothering me, she said, I know the way you think. And she's right. So I said, you know what, to be honest, I said, for the first while, I think I need daily. And she said, great. So every single evening, if she has not heard from me, then she texts me and says, okay, check-in time, or what's happening today. And that really helps. I also have Henry. He's amazing. He checks in. Well, he doesn't check in every day. We talk every day. That's just our relationship. That's just what we do. But that helps too. And now he knows different questions and things to ask that he didn't know before, or ways to check in a little more and stuff. I'm booking monthly appointments with my counselor, whereas before I just booked them as I felt I needed them. Well, now I'm actually booking them, so I have them. And my doctor wants to see me again in a month for another follow-up. And I'm sticking with these courses. And I know that I have everybody that I can talk to. I do know this. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to watch all of these videos. I hope that I've been able to... Oh, right, Henry. I almost forgot. Yes. On December 31st, New Year's Eve, I checked the mail, and there was a card in the mail, and the return address said Heidi and Orville Thompson. For those of you that don't know, those are the owners of Sensi. Those are the presidents of Sensi. And I mean, it was a card like directly from them. So I was thinking, okay, head office and stuff. I'm like, well, that's nice, but it was still surprising. So I opened it up, and it was a card, and it was actually handwritten inside saying, we heard you were in the hospital recently. Please know our thoughts and prayers are with you for speedy recovery. Something I think like along the lines of, if there's anything we can do to help or whatever. Like it, well, I started bawling instantly, because this wasn't just a card from head office, which would have been nice too. I would have been thrilled to have gotten something from head office, but this was actually handwritten by them. So I don't know if someone told them that I was in the hospital, or if they just saw it on Facebook, because Heidi Thompson, a lot of times she comments on some of my videos and posts and stuff, so she might have just seen it. But however they found out or whatever, they still took the time to write me that card, and that was incredible. And I've received cards from other people and stuff too about this, and that was equally incredible that people are reaching out like this. So I know I'm loved, and I love everybody back too. I really do. And if I can ever help anybody through this situation and stuff too, I want to. And I want to continue to ask for your patience with me as I go through this recovery, because it's a long and winding road. But versus the way I was in November, now I'm willing to walk that road. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you for being a part of my life. Same as the first two videos, I'm going to make this public so you can share it. And I encourage you to share it, please, because people need to know about these different programs and courses that are out there, and that there are people out there they can talk to anytime. And people can talk. You can send people to me anytime to talk to if you want. So again, thank you, everybody, for being so patient and sticking through these videos. I love you all, and have a good night.